It doesn't start with explosions. It starts quietly with ports, with cables, with agreements no one debates on television. While most of the world still watches Europe, the real pressure is building elsewhere, slowly, structurally, invisibly, and at the center of that pressure sits a country rarely mentioned in strategic headlines, Thailand, not as a battlefield, not as an aggressor, but as a hinge. I want you to imagine geopolitics not as armies colliding, but as systems tightening, trade routes narrowing, data streams rerouted, choices shrinking. In that world, Thailand is no longer peripheral. It is exposed precisely because it is useful. This is not a story about war. It's a story about positioning and about how neutrality, once a strength, can become a liability. If you want to understand where the next global rupture could emerge, stay with me. What looks like infrastructure today may decide power tomorrow. And to see why this pressure is building now, we need to step back and define the problem clearly. To understand the stakes, we need to be precise about what this situation actually is and what it is not. This is not a sudden crisis. There are no emergency summits, no red alerts. What's unfolding around Thailand is structural pressure created by two competing systems expanding at the same time. On one side, the United States and its partners are densifying the Indo-Pacific through alliances, bases, surveillance, and logistics depth, not to provoke war, but to prepare for one. On the other side, China is expanding quietly through ports, data infrastructure, digital platforms, and supply chains designed to function even under blockade. Thailand sits between these systems geographically, economically, and technologically. It is not being asked to choose openly, it is being shaped indirectly. Every port upgrade, every fiber cable, every logistics corridor now carries strategic meaning. The core problem is simple but brutal. In a high-intensity crisis, especially over Taiwan, Thailand's infrastructure cannot remain neutral, even if its diplomacy tries to. To see how Thailand arrived at this position, we need to look backward at history, geography, and the logic of power cycles that brought it here. Thailand's position didn't emerge by accident. It is the product of history, geography, and a long mastery of survival between larger powers. Unlike most of Southeast Asia, Thailand was never formally colonized. That experience shaped a strategic instinct: bend without breaking, cooperate without submitting, stay relevant without locking in. During the Cold War, Thailand aligned with the United States militarily while keeping regional doors open. After the Cold War, it diversified, deepening trade with China, hosting U.S. exercises, embedding itself in ASEAN consensus culture. This wasn't confusion, it was design. Geography reinforced that design. Thailand sits between two oceans, two supply chains, two security theaters. For decades, this centrality was economic. Now it has become strategic. As globalization shifts from efficiency to resilience, from cost to control, central nodes gain power and risk. At the same time, power itself has changed. Influence no longer flows only through armies, but through infrastructure, data, and logistics continuity. Countries that host these systems inherit their conflicts. Thailand didn't seek this role, but the system has assigned it one. And when systems tighten, history accelerates. The first visible shock doesn't come at the center, it comes at the pressure points. In the geopolitical game of the Indo-Pacific, Thailand's role is increasingly defined by its proximity to strategic flashpoints, but it's also shaped by something more fundamental: infrastructure. The Southern Land Bridge, a corridor of railways and highways connecting the Andaman Sea to the Gulf of Thailand, holds untold potential for China. It offers an escape route from the Malacca dilemma, a critical trade chokehold for China that could be shut off in a conflict. This isn't merely about trade routes, it's about survival, both economic and strategic. The land bridge could allow China to bypass the Strait of Malacca, a vital shipping lane through which over 70% of China's energy imports pass. If the strait is blocked, Thailand could become the vital link between two oceans, a conduit for Chinese goods moving freely, bypassing Western-controlled choke points. The West knows this. The US, Japan, and India have been observing Thailand's infrastructure developments with increasing scrutiny. Washington, in particular, is wary of the potential for China to cement its strategic dominance over the region through infrastructure in Thailand. As the southern land bridge begins to take shape, Thailand becomes an axis on which the future of the Indo-Pacific hinges. But Thailand's move towards becoming this essential link comes with peril. If a crisis arises, Thailand's importance makes it a target for both sides. For China, it's an indispensable lifeline. For the West, it's a growing threat to the balance of power. The stakes are rising, and Thailand must now decide to remain neutral is to risk irrelevance. But choosing a side may come at a far higher cost. In the unfolding crisis over Taiwan, Thailand's decision, if it can even remain a decision, may have already been made for it. The United States, for all its alliances and bases in the region, needs more than just military force. It needs logistical nodes, intelligence sharing, and strategic fallback territories. Thailand, with its geographic centrality and expanding infrastructure, could be a perfect fit or a crucial obstacle. In the event of a Taiwanese escalation, Thailand would likely be pressed to make a choice. Scenario 1, Thailand could open its airspace, offer logistical support, or provide intelligence access. The United States would gain a vital node in its extended operations, reducing its direct exposure to Chinese counterattacks, but the fallout would be immediate and brutal. Beijing's economic retaliation would be swift. Investment, trade, digital access, all could be severed overnight. The country's economic landscape, heavily intertwined with Chinese capital and markets, would collapse under the weight of sanctions, halting trade, tourism, and investments. In scenario 2, Thailand could declare strict neutrality, blocking all foreign access, avoiding involvement at any cost. On paper, this sounds like the old model of non-alignment, but in practice, it would earn deep distrust from both sides. Washington would see it as tacit support for Beijing. Meanwhile, China would grow frustrated by Thailand's refusal to align. As both sides bypass Thailand, the country risks becoming irrelevant, bypassed in the new order of things, its political capital wasted, its economic flow drying up. Scenario 3, Thailand aligns with China. This wouldn't be an announcement, just a quiet continuation of economic cooperation. Huawei networks, Chinese-built infrastructure, logistics corridors benefiting China. The West would watch, pulling away over time. But for Thailand, this alignment would be a gamble, short-term stability at the cost of long-term dependence. Thailand could find itself in an asymmetric relationship, reliant on China for everything from trade to infrastructure to digital services. Once dependency sets in, it's nearly impossible to reverse. Each path carries its own risks, each with consequences Thailand can't afford to ignore. The effects of Thailand's choices will not stop at its borders. They will ripple through Southeast Asia and beyond, particularly in the critical maritime nexus of the Strait of Malacca, which handles a third of global maritime trade. For China, this passage is an economic lifeline. Over 70% of its energy imports pass through it, and any disruption would send shockwaves through its economy. While the strait is a key vulnerability for China, it's also a point of leverage for the West. The United States, working with Singapore, Malaysia, and even India, could feasibly close the strait in a crisis, using inspections, blockades, or other forms of pressure. While China might boast military might, it cannot escape its dependence on these narrow trade routes. This is where Thailand enters the equation, not as a direct player, but as a back channel. The southern land bridge, stretching from Chumphon to Ranong, could serve as a vital route for China to bypass Malacca's chokehold, an alternative to the Western-controlled maritime routes. If the bridge were fully operational, Thailand could become the critical link between the Indian and Pacific Oceans, allowing Chinese goods to flow smoothly without passing through Malacca. For China, this is not merely an economic opportunity, it's a strategic necessity. For Thailand, however, it represents a dangerous crossroads. If Thailand continues to facilitate China's efforts to circumvent Malacca, it may find itself in an increasingly precarious position, caught between the geopolitical ambitions of two great powers. But Thailand's role as a strategic link also makes it a target. If the southern land bridge is activated during a crisis, it could draw the ire of both sides. The West in particular could see Thailand as an active collaborator with China, making it a legitimate target for economic sanctions or even cyber attacks. Yet, if Thailand refuses to cooperate, it risks alienating China, a critical economic partner. In either case, Thailand's unique position could soon make it a focus of global tensions. Its geographic advantage could turn into a geopolitical curse, precisely because it is so crucial to the future of the Indo-Pacific's economic and security architecture. As Thailand navigates this precarious balancing act, the consequences of its decisions will not only shape the immediate future, but the long-term trajectory of its geopolitical relevance. In the short term, Thailand could maintain its strategic ambiguity, continuing to serve as a partner to both China and the United States, facilitating trade, logistics, and regional cooperation. But this fragile equilibrium is already being tested as the competition between global powers intensifies and Thailand's infrastructure becomes a point of contention. The southern land bridge, now under development, could become the critical artery through which future supply chains flow. As China seeks to mitigate the risks of a Malacca blockade, the land bridge offers a lifeline. Thailand's decision on whether to support or hinder this project will determine its place in the unfolding geopolitical order. The longer Thailand holds its ground in the middle, the more pressure it will face. The choices it faces today may seem like distant abstractions, neutrality, strategic alignment, or tacit support for one side. Yet these decisions will have profound, irreversible consequences. The global order will not wait for Thailand to decide. As the geopolitical forces continue to reshape Southeast Asia, Thailand will either emerge as an indispensable player or become a pawn in someone else's game. At the heart of Thailand's dilemma is a stark reality. Infrastructure is no longer neutral. Whoever controls the vital corridors of trade, data, and logistics holds the power to shape the future. As Thailand becomes an ever more critical node in this new order, it faces an existential question. Will it remain a platform, a conduit between great powers, or will it choose to become a player, asserting its influence in a divided world? Time is running out. The infrastructure is being built, the alliances are being formed, and the future of the region is being decided. Thailand has a window, perhaps just 2 to 3 years, to solidify its position as a strategic intermediary, capable of playing both sides without falling into dependency. After that, the decisions will be made for Thailand, whether it's ready or not. As Thailand approaches this critical crossroads, the window for strategic maneuvering is rapidly closing. The choices made today will shape the country's role in the region for decades to come. Thailand's ability to navigate these treacherous waters, balancing economic ties with China while maintaining strategic relationships with the West, will determine whether it emerges as a resilient, independent player or becomes a casualty of larger geopolitical forces. The challenge for Thailand is not merely to make a decision, but to act in such a way that it becomes indispensable to both sides, by diversifying its economic partnerships, enhancing its technological capabilities, and cementing itself as a linchpin of regional stability. Thailand can avoid the traps of dependency and irrelevance. The key lies in leveraging its strategic location, its infrastructure, and its unique position as a cultural and diplomatic bridge between East and West. But this is no easy task. Internal complacency, fragmented political institutions, and the complex dualism between military and civilian interests could undermine Thailand's efforts to assert itself in a rapidly changing world. Thailand must resist the temptation to rest on its geostrategic location and take proactive steps to shape its own destiny. The real danger lies not in external threats, but in hesitation. While the world shifts toward a new order, Thailand risks being left behind, an unwilling spectator to decisions being made without its input, its interests sidelined in favor of more decisive players. The next few years will be crucial. If Thailand is to avoid being caught between the crushing weight of two rival systems, it must act swiftly and decisively. In the end, Thailand's strategic choice is not just about geopolitics, it's about sovereignty. Will it maintain its independence, or will it become a mere extension of one system or the other? The stakes are immense, and the time to act is now. As we look toward the future, the central question remains, will Thailand decide to be a platform or a partner? Will it become a strategic node at the heart of Southeast Asia's future, or merely a bystander caught in the crossfire of competing powers? Thailand has the potential to be so much more than a transit state. Its geographic centrality, infrastructure, and strategic location can make it a key intermediary in a world rapidly dividing along geopolitical lines. But it must take action now while it still has time to shape its own destiny. The next few years will be critical. Thailand's choices will determine whether it can transform its infrastructure into political leverage, or whether it will be overtaken by external forces, left adrift in a world of shifting alliances and power struggles. There is no perfect solution. Every path carries risks, but inaction could be the most dangerous choice of all. Thailand must decide to stand firm in its autonomy or to surrender its sovereignty to the pressures of a changing world order. The warning from Asia is clear. Hesitation is no longer an option. The time for Thailand to choose its future is now. The question is, will it be ready when the moment arrives? As the world watches, Thailand's strategic decisions will not just affect its own future, they will shape the future of the Indo-Pacific and beyond. And in this new geopolitical reality, Thailand's place is far from guaranteed. It must act, and it must act swiftly.